Hello guys, welcome back to another tutorial of Python. Today let's learn about decorators. Decorators are a very important concept in Python and it is used to add additional functionality into a function or method without permanently modifying it. Let's get started with an example and I'm going to my PyCharm studio. So here I am in my PyCharm studio. So let's understand this better. So before I explain about decorators and how to use it, I can give you some important things with method, and it is important to know that before you learn about decorators. So for example, I am creating a function, definition function1, and I am printing some data test. And this is one of my functions. So I am assigning this function into another variable, that is my function variable equal to function 1. And now my function 1 is in my function variable. Okay, my function variable, and if I execute this specific variable and I assign this function to this variable, right? So now my function can be called using the function name, otherwise this variable name, and I'm calling the variable name with this round brackets, and when I run it, it will run, because here I'm not calling the function, I'm just assigning it to it. But when I executed this one, I'm getting the text. So this is one thing which you should know, that we can assign this function into a specific variable. I already explained this in my previous video tutorial, but I'm explaining this again here. And another thing is, so I am going to create one more function. So I'm going to call it function2. Function1 is called function2 is called. Okay, so this very pretty simple, and I can call this function 1 or 2 without any issue. I can just call it using the function name, right? So I have to call this function 2 from function 1. So how I can do that? I can either call it like this, function 2 like this, and when I just call function 1, my both function will execute. You can see it here, function 2 called, because I'm calling function 2 first before I printing this value. So that's the reason why function 2 is called first. And then I have another way as well. So I can pass this function 2 as a parameter of function 1. So I am adding this function parameter here, function param, and in function 1 I am passing function 2 as the parameter like this, and here I am calling function parameter like this. This also will give me the same result without any issue. Just to make a difference, I can put it down after this printed message, and if I run it, you can see function 1 is called, and then the parameter function also called. And this way I can create one more function, function 3, and I can call function 3 again here. Instead of hard coding the function inside this specific function, I can call function 2 or 3 by passing it as an argument. So when I run it, you can see function 1 and 2 is called, function 1 and function 3 is called from here. It's very simple, because when I use this one, it printed function 1 called, and then the second parameter function is function 2. That's why function 2 is called printed here. And in this line I'm calling function 3 by passing it as an argument for the function 1, and that is why this got printed. I hope you guys understood this concept. And one other thing is I have to show you one more thing, like function 1. and I can even return this function like this, return this function. So I'm returning function 1, a parameter function here. So I can call function 1 and I'm just returning it. After executing this function, after executing this line, it will return this function here. So I'm keeping that return function in a variable. I can use this if my function is returning something, then I can keep that value in a variable like this. Final function. So this will execute this function, and along with that it will keep this returned value into this specific variable. So I'm calling this also like this, but I'm not passing anything into this function 1, right? So I can declare one more function 2. Function 2 is printed. So I'm passing this function 2 here, and when I run it, I can see this executing text is printed here, and then my function 2 is returned and stored it here, and when I run this line, it printed this value. So we can see the difference by debugging it. I'm debugging. You can see that this is the first line which is going to execute, and when I skip it, it's going to this line and it will print it, and then it is returning this value, and now this specific variable is completely empty and we don't have any value in it. When I execute, it will say name final function is not defined, because when it returned, that value will store here, then only this will be initiated. And when I go to the console, you can see that this line got printed, and when I again skip it, it will go to this line, and this specific variable has a value in it. That function 2 is assigned to this variable, and you can see that in console it is still the text which is printed, and when I finally run this, it will bring the debugger here. So I'm skipping it, and it came to this position, and when I again skip it, that value got printed. So this is how this one will work when I return a function. Now let's understand about decorators. So I'm not removing these two functions. I can just remove this content because the decorators are defining in a different way. So first I'm going to create my decorator. So decorators are, like I already said, it is for adding additional functionality into a different function without modifying that function. Okay, so let's understand a real-time scenario. Like for example, you are developing a social media app. So in your social media app, you are going to upload your photos, you are going to upload some text content, and you can even do some kind of video upload, and like some kind of tweets. It can be anything, like you can share something from some other site and put it in your social media site. You can do all these things, and in that case, whenever you do each of these activity, you have to verify whether the user is currently active or not, or if the user is currently logged in or not, right? You have multiple different functionality in your social media app, but before doing any of these actions, you have to validate the user. Okay, so that we can do with decorators this way. Like I'm going to create a decorator, like validate decorator, and the parameter of the decorator is function, and I'm going to create another nested function here, execute, and I am printing some value like user validated, and after validating the user I'm executing this function which is passed as an argument, and then the next line I am returning the execute function like this. I'm not calling it this way, don't add this brackets, just remove the bracket and just return the nested function like this. So now we done with our decorator, and now I'm going to create two different functions like upload, update profile picture, print file picture is updated, and then upload photos. This is another thing which I have to do. Print photo updated, and I can create one more function, definition, share tweets, print shared tweets. Okay, so I have two different functions here. I forget to add a t, and I have three different functions for different actions. And before doing any of these actions, I have to validate whether the user is valid or not. So I can't just call this function like this. I have to see if the user is validated or not. When I run it, you can see profile picture updated, but I am not validating the user, right? To validate the user, I have to validate it inside these functions separately. So I have to modify these functions every time. Whenever I make some changes like this, I have to add these lines in every function to validate that user. And here it is also not getting the function argument. That's why it's not working, because that's the reason why it is throwing error. But this is how you will do if you are not very sure about decorator, then you will validate something like this, or you will validate it before and then you can call this function. And technically it will work, but the problem is the reusability of the code is going to be messed up. So in that case, what we can do is we can add the decorator like this for every function. The function name I am adding followed by an at the rate symbol. So when I do this, the parent function will execute first, and then this my current function, my wrapper function will be passed as an argument to the parent function, and the parent function will validate the user and then it will execute. So you can just add at the rate validate user. So we are telling the program to wrap this specific function with this one. When I run it now, you can see user validated because this one executed first, and then it is executing my profile picture updated. So the same way I can call any of these functions, upload photos, share tweets. If I call any of these function, whatever has this decorator added will validate the user before executing the content of it. So let's understand how you can pass arguments to these functions. So if you just add an argument here, so I can remove these two different functions from here, and I'm adding a name updated for, can just concatenate. When I do this, it will throw an error because this function is protected with the decorator, and when I do this way and I'm passing Alex as the argument, and when I execute it, it will throw an error saying take 0 positional argument but 1 was given. Because this is correct, right? Because we are calling the function by passing the name, and this function is coming here without any problem. I just added the decorator. Because of that, my function is not working. So how we can fix it? It's pretty simple. So all you have to do is just add star arguments, because this is the dynamic argument which is passed to the wrapped function, and then star star keyword argument. This is the normal argument. When we use keyword argument, that argument will come to this specific one, and I can just copy this content and then paste it here. I have to pass this argument to this function, and when I execute now, you will see it is worked. It worked. You can see the user validated, and then this one also printed here. When you pass argument, you have to make sure that you are adding this keyword argument and the normal argument, and should pass it to the wrapped class. Wrapped function. So let's debug and see. When I debug, you can see it came here, and this argument is Alex. You can see the argument is Alex. The keyword argument is empty because I am not passing any keyword argument. I can create one more keyword argument, age. I am passing age equal to 20. So when I debug it now, you can see argument is Alex and the keyword argument is age equal to 20. And we don't have to make any other changes because everything will work perfectly fine. Yeah. You can see both got printed. So this is very important. This is a very important concept in Python, because when you work with live project, you will get situation to use decorators without modifying the function to add some common code. Instead of that, you can add the common code in another decorator function and then just wrap your other functions with the decorators like this. So this is all for this video tutorial, guys. Let's look at other functionality in the next video tutorial. Thank you guys for watching.